Hi everyone, I am Karen Faith P. Lotino. So in this video, I will be discussing the ultimate or frisbee rule. So first is the spirit of the game. So ang ultimate rule is non-contact siya. So officiated rule. So lahat ng player are responsible for administering and adhering to the rules. So ang ultimate relies upon the spirit of the game that placed the responsibility for fair play on every player. So it is trusted that no player will intentionally break the rules. Thus, there are no harsh penalty for inadvancement breaches, but rather a method of resuming play in a manner which simulates what would most likely have occurred had there been no breach. Then players should be mindful of the act that they are acting in references in any arbitration between items. So player must know the rules, be fair-minded and objective, be truthful, explain their viewpoint clearly and briefly, allow opponent and the responsible a chance to speak, consider their opponent's viewpoint, use respectful words and body language with consideration of potential cultural differences, resolve this disputes as quickly as possible, make calls in a consistent manner throughout the game, and only make a call where a breach is significant enough to make a difference to the outcome of the action. So next is highly competitive play is considered, but should never sacrifice the mutual respect between players' adherence to the agreed upon rules of the game. So player safety and the basis joy of play. So on actions of examples of actions of good spirit is retracting a call when you no longer believe a call was correct, checking in with an opponent on the sideline after continuous interaction, complimenting an opponent for good play or spirit, introducing yourself to your opponent and reacting calmly toward disagreement or provocation. Next, number 2 is the playing field. So the playing field is a rectangular area with dimension and zones as shown and zones, and should be essentially flat, free and obstruction, and afford reasonable player safety. So the perimeter lines surround the player field and consist of two sideline along with the length and two end line along with width. So the perimeter line are not part of the playing field. The goal line are the line that separates the central zone from the end zone and are part of the central zone. Next is the equipment. Any flying disc acceptable to those captain may be used. So WFDF may contain a list of approved discs recommended for use. So each player must wear a uniform with distinguish their team. So no player may wear items or clothing or equipment that reasonable could harm the wearer or other player or impede an opponent's ability to play. Next, number 4 is point, goal, and game. So the game consists of a number of points. Each point ends with a scoring of a goal. A game is finished and won by the first team to score 15 goals. A game is separated into two periods of play called halves. So halftime occurs when a game first scored 8 goals. So the first point of each half starts when the half starts. So after the goal is scored and the game has not a need won or halftime has not been reached, so the next point starts immediately. The team switch the end zone that they are defending, and the team that scored becomes defense and pulls next. Next is number 5, which is the teams. Each team will put a maximum of 7 players and a minimum of 5 players on the field during each point. So each team must designate a captain and the spirit captain to represent the team. So the team may make ultimated substitution after a goal is scored and before their team signal readiness for the pool. Okay, let's move to number 6, which is the starting games. A representative of the two teams fairly determine which team first chosen, either whether they receive or throw the initial pool or which end zone they will initial defend. So the other team is given a remaining choice. So at the starting of the second half, this initial selection are switched. Number 7 is the pool. So at the start of the game, after halftime or after a score, plays commences with a throw by the defense called a pool. So team must prepare for the pool without unreasonable delay. So the pool may be made only after both teams have signaled their readiness by having a puller and a player on defense raise a hand above their head. So after signaling readiness, all offensive players must stand with one foot on their defending goal line without changing location relatively to one another until the ball is released. After signaling readiness, all defense players must keep their feet entirely behind the vertical plane of the goal line until the ball is released. So if the team breaches 7.3 or 7.4, the opposing team may call violation or offside. So this must called before the offensive touches the disc. Okay, so let's move to number 8, the state of play. Play is dead and no turnover is possible after the start of point until the pool is released. So when the disc must be carried to the pivot location after the pool of the turnover until the pivot point is established. Then after a call which stop the play and any other stoppage until the disc is checked in or after a disc hits the ground until possession is established by appropriate team. So players are allowed to move during dead play. Then play that is not dead is alive. So the next is the thrower may not transfer possession of the disc during the play to another player, and any player may attempt to stop the disc from rolling or sliding after it has hit the ground. So after the turnover and after the pull of offensive, a player must move at walking pace or faster to directly retrieve the disc and establish a pivot point. Okay, next is the number 9, the stall count. The marker administers a stall count on the thrower by announcing stalling and then counting from 1 to 10. So the interval between the start of each number in the stall count must be at least 1 second. Then the stall count must be clearly communicated to the thrower. Then the marker may only start and continue a stall count when play is live and until the pivot is established after the turnover. They are within 3 meters of the thrower's pivot point or the pivot location if the thrower is not at that location, and all defenders are legally positioned. Let's move to number 10, the check. So, whenever play stops during the point for the foul, violation, contested, turnover, specified turnover, contested goal, stoppage, discussion, or at the completion of the timeout, play must restart as quickly as possible with a check. The check may only be delayed for the discussion of the call. So, next is a player positioned after the call. If play stop before a pass and throw, all player must return to the location they held when the call was made. And also if play stop after the pass is thrown. Okay. Next, number 11, which is out of bounds. The entire playing field is in bounds, so the perimeter lines are not part of the playing field and are out of bound, and all non-players are part of the out of bound area. The out of bound area consists of the ground, which is not in bound, and everything is contact with it, except for the defensive player, who are always considered in bound. Next is number 12, the receivers and positioning. A catch occurs when a player has an spinning disc trapped between at least 2 body parts. A catch can enable a player to establish position of the disc. So after establishing position, the player become a thrower. If defensive and offensive player catch the disc simultaneously, the offense remain position. A player in an established position is entitled to remain in that position and must be contracted by an opposite player. So every player is entitled to occupy any position of the field not occupied by any opposing player. So provided that they do not initiate contact in taking such a position and are not moving in a reckless or dangerously aggressive manner. And also the player who initiate contact is deemed to be the player who arrived at the point of contact after the opponent that has already established a legitimate position at that point. Some minor catch contact may occur as 2 or more players move towards a single point simultaneously. simultaneously. So minor contact should be minimized but is not considered as a foul. So player may not use their arms or legs to distract the movement of opposing player. So no player may physical assist the movement of other player nor use a item of equipment of or object to assist the contacting the disc. Next, let's move to number 13, the turnovers. So, turnovers are transfers position of the disc from one team to the other occurs when the disc contacts the ground while it is not in a possession of an offensive player. So the offensive player establishes possession of a pass. So the disc become out of bound, or during the pull, the offense touches the disc before it hits the ground and subsequently fail to establish possession of the disc. Okay. So next, a turnover, the transfer possession of the disc from one team to another and results in a stoppage of a play. And also, if a player determines a turnover has occurred, they must make the appropriate call immediately. Then, after any offensive player may take possession of the disc after the turnover. And next, let's move to number 17, which is the scoring. A goal is scored if an inbound player catches a legal pass and all their ground contacts are entirely within their attacking end zone, and they subsequently establish possession of the disc and maintain the catch throughout all ground contact related to the catch. If the player believes a goal has been scored, they may call goal and play stop. After a contested or retracted goal, call play must restart with a check and the call is deemed to have been made when the player establishes possession. If a player in possession of the disc ends up with their selected pivot point behind the attacking goal line without scoring a goal, according to the player must establish a pivot point at the nearest location of the goal line. So the time at which the goal is deemed to have been scored is when the player establishes possession. Okay, so let's move to the number 15, which is the calling fouls, infraction, and violation. So, a breach of the rules due to non-minor contact between two or more opposing players is a foul. And a breach of the rules regarding a marking or travel breach is an infraction. Infractions do not stop play. So every other breach of the rule is a violation. Only the player fouled may claims a foul by calling foul. In general, only a thrower may claim an infraction by calling the specific name of the infraction. Any opposing player may claim a violation by calling a specific name of violation or violation, unless specified otherwise by the particular rule. So next, when a foul or violation call is made that stop play, players must stop play by visible or audibility communicating the stoppage as soon as they are aware of a call, and all players should echo calls. on the field. So calls must be immediately after the breach is recognized. So after a player initiate a stoppage incorrectly, including after mishearing a call, not knowing the rules, or not making the call immediately, if the opposition gains or retain possession, any subsequent play stands. So if the player gains whom the fault, infraction, or violation has been called disagrees, that is occurred. And if the player making any call subsequently determines that their call has incorrect, they can retract the call by calling retracted. If multiple breaches occurs on the same play or before play stops, the outcomes should be resolved in a reserve sequence. Players are encouraged to use the WFDF hand signal to communicate all calls. So next, let's move to the continuation after a call. So whatever a fault or violation call is made or player attempts to stop play in any way, play stop immediately and no turnover is possible. So regardless when any call is made, if a player involved from both teams agree that the event or call did not affect the outcome, the play stands. So this rule not suspended by any other rule. So next is number 17, the faults. Faults is a dangerous play, receiving faults, strip faults, blocking faults, force out fault, defensive throwing or marking fault, offensive throwing faults, indirect faults, and offsetting faults. So next, number 18, which is the infractions and violation. So different types of infraction and violation is marking infractions, travel infractions, peak violation. And next is number 19, the safety stop page. First is the injury stop page. Second, technical stop page. And last is if the player is substitute after an injury or due to illegal or fault equipment, the opposing team may also choose to substitute one player. Okay, next let's move to the last number, which is 20. The timeouts. So the player calling a timeout must form a T with their hands or with one hand and the disc, and should call timeout to opposition player. So after the starts of the point and before both teams have signaled readiness, a player from either team may call a timeout. So the timeout extends the time between the starts of the point and subsequent pull by 70 seconds. So after the pull, only the thrower with position of the disc may call the timeout. And next is if the thrower attempts to call a timeout while play is live, and when their team has no remaining timeout, play stop. So the mark must add 2 seconds to the stall count that they have restarted play on before restarting play with a check. If this result in a stall count of 10 or above, this is a stall out turnover. So that's end my report, and thank you for watching.